Hi everybody, Simon here from Barrier Life Inc. This afternoon, joined by the lovely Caitlin Koch over in Nashville. Good afternoon, Caitlin.
Yeah, Simon, so good to see you.
Yeah, it seems like we've been talking for weeks, and finally this has come around, so it's really nice.
I know. We finally got it sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. Got over the technology, we're all good.
Yes, here I am.
Yeah.
Skype.
So how's life over in Nashville at the moment then?
Oh my goodness, things have gotten back to normal here for the most part. Shows are becoming, more and more frequent. People are going back out on tour in the music industry. Restaurants, all of it's open. So things are really honestly normal here.
You've been really lucky, I guess, because it's just nice to have that normality back, isn't it? Um, in the UK, we're really just getting to that point now where we're just starting to get drip fed what we had before. So everybody's sort of kind of relieved that we're going to have that normal soon again.
Yes. Well, vaccinations rolled out so quickly here. So it was really, that was a blessing, I think, for us. And everybody was able to get vaccinated despite age and all of that. I think back in April, May down here. So it's been a great help. And since then, yeah, things have really opened up. So I'm praying for y'all. I hope that happens soon.
Well, it looks like it is. It's meant to be happening in the next week or so. So fingers crossed it actually does what it says on the tin. But I think people are still sort of struggling a little bit with the fact that things are going to be really relaxed. But we do have to learn to live with it, and we've got to get on with life.
Yes, agreed. Of course, you want to be cautious and considerate and remember that this is still a thing with COVID. But honestly, there's a lot of mental health, issues and all these things that are also to be considered. So it's so good to hear that y'all are headed in the light at the end of the tunnel is there.
Totally. It is really strange though. I've got to say, I went to my first like little mini festival a couple of weeks ago, and it was really strange to be around people again and doing what we've always done and enjoyed live music together. But it didn't take a whole long time to get back to some normality.
Oh, agreed. I mean, and if anything's going to bring you together, music certainly will do that.
Hmm. So do you still have restrictions over there at the moment then?
No. I mean, at least not where we are here in Nashville, Tennessee. There aren't any. I think that if you're in a different state, states like New York and California may
Yeah.
still have some restrictions implemented, but I think even there, they've lifted quite a bit, especially in regards to larger gatherings like weddings and things of that
Yeah.
nature. I think that they finally started lifting those restrictions.
That's a relief.
Yeah.
So you're best known, obviously, if we go back like 10 years, as being the singing rugby coach on X Factor. But if you cast your mind a little bit further back, when and where did your musical journey begin?
Well, when I was 14, I won a contest called Buffalo Idol in my hometown of Buffalo, New York. And the prize for this contest was to be the opening act for Gavin DeGraw and Avril Lavigne, who were two major artists at the time, in front of an audience of, my goodness, it was like 16,000 people. And I won that contest to everyone's surprise, including my own mother's. And I sincerely believe that it was a definitive moment for me being on stage in front of an audience that large. I oddly felt at home and wanted to stay there as long as I possibly could. So here we are.
So that was a really good taster then for what was to come.
Really was, and what an electrifying once in a lifetime experience, especially for somebody so young. But I really felt at home on stage. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. I mean, like listening to your voice, there's a lot of soul in it. Was that the first genre that really affected you when you were younger?
Certainly, my mother was a huge Elvis Presley fan. And my parents just did I think they had great musical taste, but also a wide variety. So I was exposed to artists such as Mahalia Jackson and Elvis Presley, um, Sarah Brightman, Andrea Bocelli, uh, Percy Sledge, like just
Yeah.
a wide variety. And then, we are Catholic, so like around Christmas time, Gregorian chants are playing, throughout the house to atmospherically set, the tone for the season. And yeah, so I think I was exposed to a lot, but certainly like anything really soulful, anything out of Motown or Muscle Shoals really, really had a great impact on me as a child.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, you can hear all kinds of influences in your voice, but obviously that was the first one that sort of emerged. If you look back across some of your performances.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And that's the kind of music I really naturally gravitate to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I was watching your performances on X Factor, and what really made me laugh when I was watching your performance with Simon at the judges' houses.
Yeah.
When he asked you, if you had anything to say before you started performing, and you said, "Yeah, I hope you're ready." I just loved the level of confidence in your voice.
I was so audacious. Oh my goodness. I thought I had it all figured out. Oh my goodness. Even 21, I was a young 21. So
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't come across as nervous or anything. It was just, it was an incredible piece of footage, to be honest with you, and your voice was amazing.
well, thank you. Thank you so much. It certainly was my goodness, like what an exhilarating experience that was.
I'm
That whole
sure.
experience.
And obviously, you've made great connections back then that have sort of carried you through your career as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, from being on the show, the contestants I was surrounded with were so talented. We really developed a great camaraderie. And some of us, I mean, I have stuck with music, seriously ever since. Artists like Fletcher, she's doing incredible things in the pop world. There's a few of them that honestly are doing so well. And then Paula Abdul, who was one of my judges
Mhm.
on the show, became my manager for the following, my goodness, I think five years. So
Right.
yeah, so it was really a blessing for me. X Factor was as a general experience being there, and then just continued to bless me like years after the fact, genuinely.
Right. Because I mean, that must have taken you up to the point when you released your EP. Was that back in 2015 or was that 2017?
Would have been 2016 that I released it. Because I did the writing for it in 2015 into 16,
Yeah.
released it 2016, correct. And then 2017 was the tour, international tour that I was overseas with it. So I was doing a lot of promotion there.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to play, like, certainly in the UK, a couple of the biggest events that you could have possibly been a part of. The Ramblin' Man Fair, and also you were playing on the Country to Country tour, weren't you?
Yes, oh my goodness, and they were just such amazing experiences. I really felt such a great connection with the audience there. Like y'all are so awesome over there. We just love you. Like I felt right at home. People really listen to you when you're on stage. There were some performances that really caught me off guard because it would get so quiet, and I'm like, y'all, do I suck? Like I'm looking at my bandmates like, wait a second. I'm like, is this like not my shining moment? Like what's happening? Like, but it was just different for us,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a sense of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seemed to me that there's a sense of like politeness and a sense of respect. And over here, it's not that that isn't a thing. It's just that there's more interaction and there's
Yeah.
more. So it was just different for me. But my goodness, O2 Arena was a phenomenal experience. I think I performed 3 times that weekend at Country to Country Music Festival,
Yeah.
and just and it was cool to see everybody from the States over there.
Right. Uh-huh. I mean, it's quite something to think that, like you're saying about the audiences over here. I've experienced gigs over in America, and it's an entirely different experience, like you say. But I think over certainly in the UK, I think people are quite intense about the music that they follow and enjoy, and it is quite a different experience, isn't it?
I felt that. I really, really felt that. And it expanded outside of the UK because we found ourselves in Norway and
Yeah.
Sweden after we left the UK to go to the surrounding areas. And then in Italy, we were in Greece and I felt like the audiences were very, very serious about their music, and it was just different for me. And it was an experience I had not had before. So
Hmm.
it was yeah, it was special. It was really special.
And like with the Ramblin' Man Fair, obviously the lineup would have been wholly different to what you were performing with the country to country. So it'd be quite nice to see the genres sort of mixing up a little bit at the other event.
Yes, and from what I was told, Ramblin' Man was primarily a rock
Yeah.
festival, rock concert only. And then the year that I was there, they had developed this country, outlaw sort of blues oriented stage, and we opened for um, Kenny Wayne Shepherd
Right.
was our
Yeah.
the act after us, and it was just so cool to see another genre be implemented, and basically have that audience exposed to that type of music at this and on the same grounds that like
Yeah.
rival sons are playing, and it was so fantastic. And of course Chris Barris backed me on that.
Yeah.
And it was just such a blessing to get to know him and his bandmates. They were really a great blessing to me while I was over there. And I'm just so glad to see Chris's career take off the way that it has. He's such a good
Totally.
person.
Yeah.
He
I
really
was
is.
lucky enough to see him and catch up with him when he toured with Beth Hart last year, just before we locked down. He is
Yeah,
an incredible performer, isn't he?
he's amazing. He's amazing,
Yeah.
and he's such a hard worker. He's so deserving of all the goodness that comes his way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we had some fun on tour. We really did. He and I
Can
would
imagine.
he and I would compete backstage to who could hold a plank longer and who could do more push-ups. And I want to tell you, Simon, and I'm let it be known and documented right here that I won every single contest.
Nice one. Nice one.
So thank
Nobody's
you.
going to have an argument with that.
No, I'm gonna argue.
Perhaps we'll find out the next time I speak to Chris.
Ask him about him. Ask him about it.
So, like with Europe, do you still see that as a growing market for the type of music that you're playing at the moment?
Certainly, certainly. I think that soul music and of course country has grown
Yeah.
in its own right over there so much. But my sound is a little bit of a blend of everything, and it has a great, as you mentioned, soul undertone to it. Always will have that, and I feel like that genre of music really, for whatever reason, does very well in Europe and those areas. So yeah, I would hope that it would continue to do well and receive the response that it has.
Yeah.
Um, Sincerely, yeah, I love it. I love it so much. And I love that the sound is, although it's changing a little bit in the songs that are to come that I've,
Yeah.
already co-written and developed at this point, that it'll always have that soulful undertone.
Right. I mean, like the first single was much more soulful, whereas the second single for me, it's got a bit more of a bluesy sort of Americana kind of sound. But that
Correct.
really,
Correct.
really hits a note with me. I love a lot of those artists, so
Mhm.
it's very familiar.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think just those areas of blues, soul, rock, with a little bit of a country,
Yeah.
sprinkle on there. That's why it's really hard for me to define or label what it is, that's been created regarding the sound at this point. But it's just continuing to develop, which I think is what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So.
And I think sort of if we look back years and years ago, People were obsessed with genres and only following certain genres, whereas now I think things have become a lot more open and people more accepting over what you like to listen to and what you like to follow.
Yeah, thank God. What a blessing.
Yeah, sure. When I was growing up, we were listening. Typically, you'd listen to the music that your parents would listen to, but then you developed your own identity as you sort of went along. So very much when I had my own identity, it was rock and metal that I was listening to. But then as the years go on, you realize that it doesn't really make any difference and you like what just you like.
Agreed. And you can follow artists that have such that implement a blend of those things. So something that you really enjoy and appreciate as a music lover and listener, you can potentially find in other artists if they choose to implement those sorts of tones and vibes, and you will pick that up as a listener. You'll pick that up and be like, oh, I like that,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I find that in certain artists as well, like, pop artists specifically can have such soulful foundations and undertones in their music that I really appreciate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I was looking at some of the artists that you have worked with and you've shared a stage with, but one of them that popped out to me was Pat Benatar, who was one of my favorites when I was growing up.
Oh, yeah.
How did that come about?
It was an event put on by New Skin, which is like a skincare company here, and it's major company, and they were putting on an event that she was headlining, and I was the opening act for her through this event. My God, her voice has not changed in any capacity. I mean, you listen to her and you feel like you're listening to the original record. I've never, there are certainly artists that are better live. They actually sound better live. Whatever it is about them, like they're more, they're just better live, and they must connect with an audience in a way that they don't in studio. Audibly, how we hear sound in studio is so different than how you hear on stage too, as well. So that can always affect you. But Pat Benatar just is good both ways.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And
she's very well preserved, like we say in the UK.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Whatever she's doing, it's working for her. And it's funny you bring her up too, because I was jamming to her yesterday in the car. I just pulled her up on Spotify. I don't know what it was. I just had I was having a Pat Benatar moment, and I was like, we belong to the light, we belong to the thunder. Like literally by myself in the car. Yeah. Just having a moment.
Well, yours must have sounded much better than when I sing along, obviously.
No, of course not. I bet you have quite a lot of character to your voice there, Simon.
In my own world, yeah, for sure. So you moved to Nashville from Buffalo. Is that because of opportunity and because it was easier to sort of be down there and be amongst the hotbed of talent that's down there?
Looking back on it, I have to be honest with you, Simon, I don't know if it was the best decision because I am, so soulfully based. And this is a country town. But I'll tell you my rationale behind it. I've been coming down to Nashville since I was in my teenage years. I was coming down here for rugby initially. It's a central location for us here in the States. So when you start getting involved in select side teams where, you try out and for these teams and they pull players from all over the country and comprise, the Northeast versus the Southeast, Southwest, all of this. Nashville was always the location for these regional tournaments, nationwide tournaments, and they would pool all of us together here. So I was coming year after year after year for these tournaments representing the Northeast, Buffalo, New York, where I'm from.
Right.
And just always loved it. And then I came down here for music industry stuff. There was a really awesome developer, scouting agent, Tom Collins, who developed Barbara Mandrell And we had an affiliation with him for some time when I was like 17, 18 years old, and I was coming down here for meetings with him. So I've been coming down here a long time. I would say like 13, 14 years at this juncture, and just always loved it. Always loved it. Loved the people. Felt a great sense of community
Yeah.
here. And then when 6 years ago now, when I was looking to make a change in my own career pursuit, taking it to the next level, I just felt called here. And songwriting too, specifically, was a skill set that I really needed to develop. And if you were going to be a songwriter, then Nashville is certainly that town.
For sure. Mm-hmm. So, like looking at it from back then, do you really feel that it's been the right move to bring you to this point? Obviously.
Oh my goodness. Well, I do feel that way. I've been blessed. I've been so blessed with the people that I've been able to come in contact with regarding songwriting. Kirsty Manna is a good friend now, a fellow songwriter. She wrote Austin for Blake Shelton. She's done it, so many of my fellow songwriters are professional, have done it, have hits, and you just meet them by being here and networking and making connections. So I don't think that I would, I don't know that I would have had that in other cities. And people genuinely want to help people here.
Right.
It's in the air. It's
I
in
guess networking's not quite the same when it's not face to face either. It's quite different.
Oh, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And but yeah, no, generally speaking, it's been such a blessing for me, and I love living here. So that's nice too. It's a perk.
Absolutely. You mentioned obviously, well, we've got 2 songs out already from the collection of songs that you're working on. So we've got another 8 to go. What can we kind of expect from some of the other music that you're going to give us over the coming sort of months and year?
Oh, Simon, I can't give it away. What's that saying, Simon? What's that saying? Don't give away. What is it? My mother used to say this to me about dating. He won't buy the cow if he gets the milk for free. That was it. That tells you everything you need to know about my mother. Yeah, no, honestly, the songs to come are going to be an extension of the first 2 that were released. They have blues, rock, soul influence, little country sprinkles here and there. There's one song, Alabama Sky, that's going to have, pedal steel on it. You don't really get much more country than that. The songs are sincerely a collection of songs that I am just so proud of, that have been written over the course of the last, some of them extend back a bit, but 4 years at the most. So they're still fresh, and I really would love to see what they do. I really would. And they're all, I co-wrote them all. I self-produced as well. So I hope that they have a positive impact. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, So Different Now was quite different from your first single, and in that respect, sort of, it was touching on almost that bluesy sort of country style, which worked really well. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what comes next.
Oh, good. I'm glad you are.
Really good.
That's good news.
So are you planning to release them as an album then, as a body of work?
No, so initially that was the thought, but I think that in the U.S. market, at least, it's a singles world, and I've really appreciated it because I'm able to spotlight each song individually and kind of tell the story behind it. So you will notice that although sonically they do differ in ways, but there is a cohesion to all of it. Is cohesion a word, Simon?
It is.
It is great.
Yeah.
Great.
I know cohesive is, so I'm sure it is.
I'll Google it later. It was my Jesuit in college education coming through. There's definitely, they are cohesive, although they do they might differ sonically here and there. So they were intended to be a body of work because they all came from, a specific place and time. And they all, there's a progression there. But generally speaking, they're gonna be different, but also cohesive. So it's gonna be cool to release them one at a time so that they each get their own individual highlight. I think it's gonna be really cool and really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's obviously a good market for downloads as well over there as there is for physical product.
Certainly. And releasing one at a time keeps things fresh. You always have new content, and I do have to tell you, like, originally I was kind of against it, despite it being, the kind of the way American artists at least are operating these days. But I'm really enjoying it. I feel like audiences can individually connect with these songs as opposed to see a track listing, and just be like, oh, a random hit, and like, oh, if they don't like, let's say they don't like one of them, and then is that it for the rest of the album? We just live in a different world, and here certainly is different. The attention span is so short. So we're just doing the best we can.
It's kind of funny that, because on the flip side of things, I've just got back into sort of buying and listening to vinyl a lot, and you're not as sort of tempted to skip tracks when you're listening to an album as you are when you're listening to digital music. So it's a different sort of setup and way of working things, isn't it?
Oh, certainly. And as a music lover and with what you do specifically, that it's definitely different. And most of the world, at least here, I should really just speak on what I know, but this US is digital. I don't know. Vinyl made a comeback years back, and it was becoming kind of like a really cool merchandise, that you could go and purchase at the end of a show, and it was vintagey, and it was this. But there just aren't enough record players in these parts, so it is a digital world here, at least.
Yeah. I mean, going back to So Different now, you wrote it with one of your fellow contestants from X Factor, with Josh Maddox. Is your plan to sort of do some more work with him when you release the other singles?
Oh, we certainly have discussed it, but Simon, he wrote that song himself.
Yeah.
So that was one that I was really hesitant. I don't know if hesitant is a strong word, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to release it because I had not written it.
Right.
But I did record it years back, and I'm like, I kept listening to it myself. I'm like, this is good. I'm like, I like this. Like, it just came out so cool, so basically Josh Maddox wrote that song through and through himself, and he released it as a country ballad like a decade ago. But I listened to it and I was like, this, like, melodically, I just found it really, really beautiful, and I felt like the lyric content of it was really gorgeous. And I was like, so when I went in to work with it, it changed from that country ballad. It was much softer initially in his version, and we modified it greatly by really stripping it down, implementing the acoustic guitar first, and then adding that dobro guitar sound on top of it. And it became really gritty and dirty, but also, because the melody, I think, in contrast, is so light and so pretty, it became really special. So I was listening to it by myself all the time, and I'm like, no one has heard this. I'm like, here I am, and I had plans, of course, to release so many songs this year, and I'm like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm just gonna let this go and see what happens. And so I spoke with Josh, and I was like, listen, this needs to get out there. How do you feel about it? And he was totally 1,000% behind it. And he's been so supportive. He's a talented songwriter who has kind of left the music industry to some extent. He's actually, I believe, in residency right now.
Right.
becoming an orthopedic surgeon. So he kind of went the other way with things.
Mm-hmm.
But he is he's just a good friend and talented man. So we've discussed working together in the future as well. But his schedule's a little tough right now.
It
So
probably could take a holiday. He's planning on doing something like that, yeah.
once the dust settles and he's, out of
Mm-hmm.
this stage in his career path, I'm sure that we will definitely try to get something going again. Because I'm so glad to hear that you've received it well. But I'm a fan of that song myself, a true
It must have
fan.
done, it must have done well for you over there as well, has it? Has it done well in the States?
Yes, because I think it has that like Southern rock outlaw sort of
Yeah.
thing to it. And Chris Stapleton, is like really spearheading that kind of sound here in the country market. So it's something people are familiar with here, and especially with Muscle Shoals, like it has that sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And we're only 2 hours from Muscle Shoals, Alabama here as it is. So
Mm-hmm.
so it definitely is something familiar, I think, for audiences here as well.
For sure. What about other artists then? Anybody else that you've got on your bucket list that you'd like to work with?
Oh yeah, Chris Stapleton is definitely one.
Yeah.
Now that we bring him up, I've never met him, but I went to see Marty Stewart do like a kind of like a more intimate show at the Country Music Hall of Fame here in Nashville. And he was putting forth a body of work, and he was featuring multiple artists on it. Ricky Skaggs, who's a household name over here, performed with him. A number of people did, and Chris Stapleton was one of them. When I tell you he got up and played the most rocking blues, dirty South song, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm bawling my eyes out. I
Yeah.
was bawling like a baby. And I'm like, this isn't right. Like, there's something not right with me, because he's on stage and he's got that big voice, and it's so nitty gritty, and like it's this rockin' tune, and I'm sitting here crying like in a corner. He just had such an impact on me. And I knew that he would. I just had never seen him live before. So that was something really special for me. He's somebody who I would love to collaborate with in the future.
Yeah.
Please God. Please God, let happen.
Let's put it out there.
Yes, put out the good vibes, speaking positivity into the future.
So on the subject of live shows, could we expect to see you back out in Europe once everything starts to become normal again?
I sincerely hope so. That's part of what we've been waiting for, really. Not knowing what the atmosphere was like over there. Things are open here, but like I said, like in other states, going back a month, 2 months, there was still so much was left up in the air. So I think once there's more certainty, which, as you mentioned, y'all are getting close to that point, it'll be a lot easier to make those decisions. But I would absolutely love to.
Absolutely. But back at home, you've got a show coming up on the 30th, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm starting to sprinkle them in here. It's a local show here, a local spot here in Franklin, Tennessee, which is like 20 minutes south of Nashville. It's the quaint little village that, like, so many honestly celebrities live here. Hayley Williams from Paramore is like down the street. There's an area of town called Leaper's Fork. So a lot of people frequent Franklin over here, and so I'm just excited. I have not played the venue before, so it'll be my first time, and we're just starting to get our feet wet.
Absolutely. And would this be the first show back since COVID, or have you done any other shows recently?
I performed already at Acme here in Nashville, which is another venue, and it was really cool because we were on their radio station that they have there, and they did a great job of promoting it, and it was really like a great show to be the first one back. So no, not the first one, but the second. So
Yeah. Yeah, it
we're
must be a
getting
big
there.
relief because at the end of the day, I think everybody's been really frustrated. Like as music lovers, we're frustrated because we've not been able to get to gigs, which are like our lifeblood, really. But for you guys especially, it must be quite surreal to just get back up on stage.
It was weird. I, I don't know how else to say it. Like it was really weird. It's like it's like you hope that you remember how to do it, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Like, okay, like I've been doing this my whole life. Like I should know how to do this. And you hope
Hmm.
it's like riding a bike, and of course it is. But I think this year has just been so different, so different for all of us. This experience with COVID and lockdowns have just been so different for all of us. I've never been that far away from the stage for that length of time.
Right. Uh-huh.
So it was weird. It was
I'm
weird
sure.
too. Um, but my goodness, you get that one moment on stage where you really lock in with your bandmates and you remember how what you're capable of doing. You remember how it's supposed to feel and how it is, and that's all you need,
Yeah. I mean, you can't possibly replace a live experience with a live stream that you're sitting at home watching on a computer or a laptop, whatever it might be. It's just not nearly the same, is it?
No, there's not a connection. I mean, you try to develop one, and I've really tried. Over the course of the last year, any live streams that I did, I really tried to make that mental connection. Although I'm looking at a screen, that there are
Yeah.
people tuned in and paying attention, and commenting and everything. But there is certainly something to say for being in person and
Yeah.
having that energy there.
So, yeah, I think it's definitely something when it's reciprocated and given back to you, isn't it? When in a live setting.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. Because there's a give and take there between any performer and their audience, and we certainly have missed that this past year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's been
Yay!
taken a little while to organise, but it's most certainly been worth it. It's been lovely to catch up. Hopefully, we can do this again sometime, either in the process of the other singles coming out or possibly when they're finished, and we're looking at some kind of European tour. Hint, hint.
I got it. Picking up what you put down, Simon. Picking it up. I love
No,
it. I
thank you very
love it.
much for your time today, Caitlin. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Simon. So good to see you.
You as well, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. Have a good one, Simon.
You as well. Take care and good luck with the gig on the 30th. I'll be looking out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Take care, Caitlin. Bye bye.